Yuta Okkotsu isn't just strong, he's a walking violation of the Jujutsu world's rules, copying cursed techniques, summoning a special grade spirit, and turning raw trauma into overwhelming power. Yuta is what happens when potential goes completely unchecked. But fair warning, this new Anime Explained video dives into material way beyond the anime, so if you're an anime-only fan and you want to stay pure, this is now your chance to run away. Consider yourself warned. For everyone else, let's break down why Yuta's cursed techniques are some of the most terrifying abilities in Jujutsu Kaisen, and for this video, we're solely going to be looking at Yuta's own cursed techniques, not the ones that Yuta copied, because that's an entirely different video in of itself that will be dropping later on in this anime season. So if you're an anime-only viewer, then you're likely coming to this with the assumption that the center of Yuta Okkotsu's power is Rika, the cursed spirit that maintains a form and remains with them after Rika ended up passing. This is not the same uncontrollable special grade curse that we saw in Jujutsu Kaisen 0. What exists now is far more refined, controlled, but still a terrifying entity that functions as the backbone of Yuta's entire fighting style early on in the Calling Game arc. Rika acts as a external storage for Yuta's copied curse techniques, his curse tools, and its excess curse energy. This distinction is crucial, and it is critical because without Rika acting as a buffer, Yuta's own brain, you could argue, would be overwhelmed by the sheer number of techniques he has access to. In other words, Rika is basically putting Yuta's copy on steroids. Despite Yuta's increased control, Rika, she still retains her immature and possessive nature. She will partially manifest and lash out at enemies without Yuta explicitly commanding her to do so. We see this happen repeatedly where Rika reacts on her own to perceived threats to Yuta, reinforcing the idea that she's not just a weapon, but also a sentient expression and extension of Yuta himself. Rika can act independently at a considerable distance, allowing her to perform separate tasks while Yuta fights elsewhere. She can restrain opponents, retrieve cursed tools, or apply pressure from an angle that is completely different of Yuta himself. Importantly, summoning Rika no longer requires intense emotional turmoil. Yuta can call her instantaneously, giving him one of the fastest power escalations in the series. In terms of raw power, Rika hasn't lost a step. She was able to immobilize Yuji Itadori with ease and destroy large structures with single blows. Even without fully manifesting, her physical strength alone places her amongst some of the most dangerous entities in the modern era of Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, with complete manifestation, that's basically Yuta getting a 5-minute god mode. When Yuta connects with Rika through his ring, he can fully manifest her and access her full capabilities. This state represents Yuta at his peak. During complete manifestation, Yuta gains access to Rika's vast curse energy reserves, allowing him to replenish his own. He can freely use copied curse techniques, draw curse tools stored within Rika, and fight at an output level that rivals high-level special grade sorcerers. However, this state, it is time limit. Yuta can only maintain a sustained connection with Rika for 5 minutes. This limitation is deliberate, and it acts as one of the few balancing factors on what would otherwise be an overwhelming ability set. Those 5 minutes, however, they're more than enough for most people he fights. Within that window, Yuta becomes one of the most versatile and most dangerous fighters in the series, capable of overwhelming opponents through sheer adaptability, which brings me to his copy technique. This is one of the most dangerous techniques in Jujutsu Kaisen. Yuta's innate curse technique is copy, and it is arguably one of the most broken abilities in the series. Copy allows Yuta to use another sorcerer's innate curse technique after Rika consumes a part of that person's body. The stronger or more complex the technique, the more vital the consumed body part must be. However, Yuta can bypass this requirement by placing a binding vow that limits the number of times he can use the curse technique itself. That's important in terms of a caveat when copying techniques from sorcerers who can use reverse curse techniques. technique. If the consumed body part is regenerated, then the value itself is lost. Yuta can no longer use that copy technique. This prevents copy from being completely limitless, and it introduces a strategic counterplay when going up against Yuta. Once the technique is copied, it is stored inside of Rika. Yuta cannot access these techniques freely. They are only viable and available when Yuta has fully manifested or when Yuta is inside of its domain expansion. When activated, Yuta can use the curse technique exactly as the original user did, including any extension techniques. However, the effectiveness of those techniques is still tied to Yuta's own curse energy output. This is why his copied version of Sukuna's cleave was far weaker than the original. The real strength of copy itself isn't necessarily raw power, it's unpredictability. Yuta can seamlessly switch between techniques mid-fight, layering effects together in ways that most people cannot anticipate when fighting him. For example, after immobilizing Sukuna with cursed speech, Yuta immediately switched to Uro's technique and struck with the thin icebreaker while Sukuna was still paralyzed. Even more dangerously, the effects of the copy technique, they remain active after Yuta switches to another ability. This allows him to chain techniques in rapid succession, overwhelming enemies who are still reacting to the previous attack itself. Yuta himself believes that the greatest strength of copy lies in how it manipulates perception. Opponents often assume that he stole techniques, causing them to underestimate or even overlook the original user itself. When those original users assist Yuta mid-battle, enemies are caught almost completely off guard. The downside, though, is again accessibility. Copy is locked behind either Rika's 5-minute manifestation window or Yuta's domain expansion, both of which they can consume immense curse energy and carry serious risk. But that domain expansion, that thing is broken. Yuta's domain expansion is a perfect reflection of who he is as a character. The domain manifests as a vast battlefield that is filled with a towering cross-shaped structure, and it has countless katanas embedded throughout the ground, and they also are embedded in pillars. The space is encircled by the Japanese ropes that symbolize bonds and love. It's a direct callback to Rika and the emotional core of Yuta's power. Within the domain, all restrictions on copy, they are removed. Yuta selects one copy curse technique to serve as the domain's official guaranteed hit effect. Every other technique that is copied, it is randomly embedded within the thousands of katanas that are spread across the domain. When Yuta grabs a katana, it activates the technique stored within it. Yuta does not know what the technique is until he grabs the katana, though. Each sword breaks after one activation, but the number of swords is basically infinite. As long as Yuta has that domain expansion active, Yuta is a threat. This turns the domain into a battlefield of constant improvisation. Yuta can rapidly adapt to his opponents. He can pull techniques one after the other while forcing enemies to deal with the guaranteed hits layered on top of the unpredictable curse effects. It's a domain that perfectly complements copy. It is overwhelming not through brute force alone, but through chaos and versatility and inevitability. Yuta also has reverse curse technique. It's a healing of a high special grade level when you think about it, because this is an underrated skill, and it is something we see spammed a lot in the final arc. Yuta gained reverse curse technique less than a year into his jujutsu career, something most sorcerers never achieve in their entire lifetimes. Even fewer can output reverse curse technique to heal others. Yuta learned to do both almost instantaneously. He has healed fatal injuries, removed advanced poisons like Choso's blood manipulation toxin, and even stopped Yuji's heart temporarily before reviving him without permanent damage. During the Culling game, Yuta used reverse curse technique constantly to heal himself after sustaining heavy damage. This allowed him to fight recklessly, absorb punishment that would cripple other sorcerers, though it came at the cost of rapidly draining his own curse energy. This ability obviously turns Yuta into a war of attrition nightmare. Beating him once isn't enough. You have to overwhelm him faster than he can heal, all while dealing with copy and Rika and potentially domain expansion. That is why Yuta is truly a special grade. Yuta Okkotsu isn't a special grade sorcerer because of one broken ability. He is a special grade sorcerer because every part of him feeds into the the other parts. Rika enhances copy. Copy enhances his domain expansion. Reverse curse technique sustains him through extended combat. And all of it is powered by the absurd curse energy reserves and emotional resolve of a truly broken character. Yuta doesn't fight like a traditional sorcerer. He adapts, he overwhelms, and he outlasts. And that's what makes him one of the most dangerous characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking on the left to check out more Jujutsu Kaisen videos, or clicking on the right to check out more videos from Anime Explained.